Alright everyone, so now we've come to episode 5 of Dexter New Blood. We are officially at the halfway mark, which is crazy because I remember hearing about the show, anticipating it, seeing the trailer, wouldn't be able to wait, saw the next trailer with the due date, and now we're already halfway through. Now, if you remember my review for last week, episode 4, it was the first episode where my reception wasn't negative, but I did say it was kind of lackluster compared to the first 3 episodes. It was the first one where I felt I was hesitant to say filler, even though it kind of felt that way. But also, I gave it the benefit of the doubt that it was just a transitional episode, sort of wrapping up the first 3 and kind of getting ready for the next act or the next story arc. And that was my prediction. That's what I was hoping for. And I like to think I was right, because episode 5 was a huge improvement over episode 4. And so much so that it was probably my favorite episode since the premiere. I still love the premiere. I think it was the best way they could have done it. It was a perfect new season, new series premiere. I love the ideas they did with the first episode. And this has to be my favorite episode since that. And this one really felt like it got the ball rolling for the next portion of the show, or, the rest of the show, because, I've said this in every episode, they have 10, or every review, they have 10 episodes instead of 12. So they do kind of got to get things moving faster than normal. So even though it has that slow burn feel, which I really enjoy, last week did kind of feel like it had halted or paused. But benefit of the doubt, it was transitional, and I think it was. The stakes were definitely raised in this one. Shit's definitely going to go down next week for episode 6. And there were some pleasant surprises in this one. Things that I was not expecting. First off, even though I say it's kind of laying the groundwork for the next act or the next arc, there's still some Matt Caldwell stuff going on, but even that's kind of minimal at this point. Which even then, I think back to like season 3. I mean, they talked about Freebo and following up on that pretty much throughout the whole season. And no, this was not my favorite or one of my favorite episodes because there's another kill in it. I have heard some people say that this season has been low on kills and needs more. I will disagree with that. Even if Matt Caldwell was the only victim that Dexter has in this entire run, I would be okay with that. I mean, 10 years without a kill, having this normal life, that one slip up causes the whole house of cards to crumble, that I would have been okay with. Here, though, it does seem pretty reckless, as far as what he does, what he has to do, and who he goes after. But, yeah, I just really like this episode. I'm not really sure what to say before spoilers. I'm not going to say who the cameo was, but I was not expecting the cameo. I mean, my chin literally hit my chest when they said the name and then they showed the person. Which, I know a common nitpick with that scene is that there's a part towards the end of that scene where it seems like something was kind of forced and they didn't buy that character would do that. It didn't. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. But anyway, so this episode, follows up with Dexter finding Harrison's straight razor and confronting him about it. And, Harrison is still hailed as a hero at school, but, seeing his dad has gone through his stuff, he gets really upset, storms off, he goes to a party, and, he's been given some drugs, some booze, and he ODs. He doesn't die, but he ODs. And not only that, but there is one thing he does where when he did it, I was like, ooh, that's probably gonna cause some shit. And then Dexter decides to kind of figure out where the drugs are coming from and protect Harrison at all costs. Then we have Kurt's story, which I will say before spoilers, just because, there were people that said the guy at the laptop where we just see his eye and with the white ski mask and the red laser scope, hunting, killing women, holding them captive, is not Kurt. Is not Clancy Brown. It's going to be this big reveal that it's someone else. Even though we all know what Clancy Brown's eyes look like, it is revealed in this episode that is Kurt Clancy Brown. So, I know people like to speculate, and I don't know why, even when it's really obvious. Like, I was talking to a guy recently that said Harrison is actually, like, he's convinced that the twist is gonna be that Harrison is actually Cody, which Cody would be too old for foster homes and high school at this point. So it's just like, not everything has a Shyamalan twist. Not everything is, carpet's not always going to be pulled out from under you. And no, I don't think Kurt and the billionaire have some sort of partnership where, they both take turns at this cabin. And this just happened to be Kurt's turn. But, and I noticed in the last couple episodes, and this one was no different, I really like what they did with this, and it kind of makes me think of season 4 as well. Whatever's going on with Dexter, there's some sort of parallel going on with Kurt. Like when Dexter started to think maybe Harrison was the one that started the knife fight, or that it didn't go the way he said. He's talking to Kurt, and Kurt's talking about how Matt's a bad son, and no matter what, you gotta stand by your kid. Here, it's kind of like that, but on a much bigger scale. And I like how they have these parallels. I mean, we have Dexter, we have our main villain, and then, kind of, because the original series did do a lot of that as well, especially when it came to emotional connections or communication. It would show Dexter kind of having to learn how to do that. It's not really going on here. Kind of did with that example, but here it's about, I think the theme was ritual, because we see that, well, we know Dexter is a very, a ritualistic person. And we're seeing that Kurt really has an order of things that he does with his victims. And in this episode, they're both messed up. Dexter, his ritual with his victim is interrupted. And with Kurt, he gets someone that doesn't necessarily kind of rewrites the script on him almost. Doesn't act the way his fantasy wants it, and their MOs and their rituals and everything is just messed up. It happens to both of them. So I like how they draw parallels between the two of them. The only thing I would say that was kind of boring, or not really boring, but the least interesting, would have been the sort of road trip with Angela and the podcaster, which they go to New York because they need some sort of photographic proof or physical proof that Matt was the one using the credit cards in New York, as Kurt had said in a previous episode. The only thing that made that side story worthwhile was the cameo that we got, because there is this missing person conference that Angela wants to go to, and that's where we get our cameo. And I was not expecting that. And kudos to them for being able to pull it off, because they tried to make Deb a secret. They tried to keep Trinity a secret. I didn't see anything about this character. And like I said, when this character came up, I was blown away. And it was a very nice surprise. It really made it feel like the old show again. But yeah, I really liked this episode. And it ended on a cliffhanger where probably one of the best endings in New Blood, where it was just, okay, this is really going to create a shitstorm. I can't wait to see where this goes. And really was the perfect kind of cliffhanger, too. And yeah, I really can't wait to see where this goes. I love the groundwork that it's laid. It really does, all the good seasons of Dexter, like especially the first 4, you can tell usually around the halfway point, a little bit after, that's when everything starts to collapse and stakes get raised and everything starts ramping up. I think this is the first episode for that. I mean, everything's already been messed up since he killed Matt Caldwell, but the way this one ends, I think it's the beginning of the end. Which they've already said. I know people still say, if this does well, they're going to do more. I hope they do more. I wish they do more. They've already said this is it. This is the finale. They've already shot it, filmed it, which means they've already filmed a pretty fitting conclusion that I'm guessing they can't write themselves out of. So even if the finale to New Blood proves to be the greatest finale of all time, and the whole series is regarded as one of the best reboots or revivals or seasons, they're not going to do more. They finished it. I know people like to speculate, and that was another one of my favorite things about this episode, was if it can debunk a crazy speculation or theory and just kind of show that, yeah, what's in front of you is what's happening with Clancy Brown and that killer being Kurt. That just adds points to that episode for me. Just because, like, yes, what are you doing trying to add? That's exactly what, I don't know. But, yeah, I loved this episode. It still had that slow burn feel, but, and we had great Dexter moments. I mean, I always love it when Dexter gets really angry and you can really see the beast come out, and like when he screams. Some people say it's hilarious. Like every time he screams, like go to any YouTube comment, they're like, when he screams Miguel, it's hilarious. But I think he always does convincingly and intensely. We have one of those moments here. Of course, we get to see an actual kill room this time. And again, the fact that there was a kill in this episode is a bonus. But I could have been fine with Matt Caldwell being his only victim. And the whole season kind of being how slipping up really ruined his exile and his somewhat normal life. There was one other thing I was going to say about that. Oh, but also to go along with that is this is the first time, really, where we see him kind of denying the code. Like, he doesn't care, it felt like, that this person is against the code. And it's more reckless, more about vengeance. So I think we see that, he's kind of getting further away from Harry. But there's also some strain on him and Deb, or Conscious Deb. Conscience Deb. And, I mean, there wasn't any really silly moments like there has been in the last few episodes. This is more of her over-the-top, like, almost like she's trying to break out of her skin kind of performances, like, that we've seen her do either in the original series or in this. I mean, it's still a good performance, but there is some times where she really goes over the top. Like, really just like, how could he do? It's more so that. And it seems like he's kind of breaking away from her as well. Because she even tells him, like, this isn't the code. Like, this is vengeance. And he's like, yup. And he just goes. But we also get to see sort of the problem-solving Dexter. Like how we see how he has to kind of lie to get his supplies. Like, he has to get the ketamine, animal tranquilizer. But he also gets, his plastic bags. Plastic wrap, everything he needs. I love the part where he finds out where this victim lives. Because the address is written down on the receptionist's desk at the police department. But instead of making it look like he's looking at it, he goes to hug her, and then, like, he looks at it. Classic Dexter. There's not much I can say without going into spoilers, so I guess I will, but yeah, I loved this episode. Huge improvement over 4. And I think a slow episode is okay, as long as it has that transitional feel like the last one did. This one did a good job at picking up right where it left off, but also setting the stage for the next big act, and which the stakes are now higher, incredibly. And I can't wait to see where it goes. The promo for episode 6 looks great. Yeah, I'm very curious to see, because we're in the second half now, so it's going to be over before we know it. But yeah, I really love this episode. So get into spoilers now. So after Harrison ODs, he finds out through, it goes through a few different people. Like, there's this party goer, then Logan. Well, Logan's also on the case. He almost has like a Doxy feel in this one, whether he knows it or not. But pretty much Dexter wants to go after the maker and distributor of the fentanyl pills that Harrison overdosed on by accident. But, and also, while he's, drunk and really high off fentanyl, he tells Audrey that, his dad's real name is not Jim Lindsay. And that's kind of the first, like, ooh, I can't wait to see what comes of that. And then that's when he passes out, overdoses. So Dexter's whole thing is he wants to go after this dealer, which he goes after this one dealer, and then just as he's about to stick him, Logan pulls up to arrest him, the dealer, and that's when he makes it look like a vengeful father just fighting him, saying, "Stay away from my son." But then he goes after the source itself, the guy that actually manufactures the pills. So And I think Logan says there's like 18 fatal overdoses from drugs that came from him. So there's kind of that fine line between, is he really, like, does he really fit the code? It's not really his fault. I mean, they did the drugs themselves, but they did come from him. And that's when Deb kind of, says, this isn't your code, this is vengeance. And he's just like, yup. And he just goes. Now, people have a problem with him setting up the kill room in the guy's house, like in his attic. Which, yes, he did know that Logan was looking into the case, and he arrested the dealer. Would have been a matter of time before he got to the manufacturer. Dexter and the police are like neck and neck with getting to this guy. He should have known that was a dumb idea. They probably did it just to add, tension and suspense. But at the same time, this did feel like not a days-long vetting, planning kill. I mean, we've seen Dexter improvise in some pretty risky places. So, again, I didn't think it was out of the realm of impossibility or possibility. I didn't totally not buy it. And then how his ritual gets messed up, which also it was great to see his dark passenger come out and really like taunt the person, like have a look at the pictures and be like, "Do you see what you did? Like you caused so like." We haven't seen that in so long. And Michael C. Hall still has it. He's still great. But just as he's about to bring the knife down on him, that's when Logan pulls up. So he takes the guy's stash and he forces it up his nose to stage an overdose. Now Kurt, we saw in the last episode, he takes this girl in, offers her a job at the diner, lets her stay at this cabin. And here she finds out that she can't get out. She sees the cameras with "You're already dead." And it starts to go against his fantasy and his ritual when she starts looking up at the camera and stripping, thinking he's a sexual deviant. And he gets on the intercom saying, "This isn't what this is about. Stop doing that." Then she can tell he stopped recording. And then, kind of panicky, and during broad daylight, he takes her outside like he's going to free her. He tells her to run, but she won't. Of course, part of his thing is that he wants them to run so that he can not really hunt them, because he doesn't go after them, but shoot them. She just kind of stands there and panics, and he starts to panic. And then finally she runs towards him, and he shoots her in the head. And that's when he kind of has a breakdown. He's like, no, 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 no. So both Dexter and Kurt had their routines, I guess is another word I could use, interrupted or broken or changed. So I like that theme or that parallel for this episode. The cameo that I loved was while Angela and the podcaster are in New York, they go to this missing persons unit conference, and the camera is on those two, and we hear the announcer say, "From Miami Metro Homicide." I was like, who are they going to get? And he says, "Angel Batista." Camera cuts to David Zayas reprising his role as Angel, one of my favorite characters from the series. He's the most lovable character. And, he talks about Trinity. Another hint at Trinity, which really just makes me think, when is his cameo going to come up? But then later on, him and Angela are having a couple drinks together. and just talking about how she got into, why she became a cop, and her friend Iris went missing. And she kind of gives him the information of the missing girls in Iron Lake and her theories. And he compares her to Deb. Now, during the conference, I think he talks about Bay Harbor Butcher, Dexter. And of course, there's the humorous line where the podcaster's like, which I was wondering where it was going to go with that comment, because she was like, oh, I did an episode on this. They actually thought it was someone in their department. Can you imagine seeing someone every day not knowing that they're a serial killer? Now, I was thinking, like, they thought? Like, did something happen in the last 10 years that it wasn't James Stokes, like, to the public anyway? And that's going to be something that comes up in another episode. But we see the thumbnail for that episode in her podcast, and it's still Dokes. So while Batista and Angela are talking, and he says she reminds him of Deb, they talk about Trinity and how she found the pattern. And what felt forced, I do agree that she said because Angela says, well, where is she now? What, do you think she could help me? And he says that she died. He says a very messed up situation. She had a brother too. He also died. Now, he could have said, her brother was also very instrumental in a lot of cases. He was our blood spatter expert. They could have gone something like that. But the thing that people had issues with was he said, he had a son too. His name was, now I can't think of it. He says goodbye to her, walks off, and then he does the Hollywood, Harrison, that was his name. Now, and people will say they don't buy it just because of how close Angel was to Dexter and Deb. His sister Jamie was Harrison's nanny for a while. There's no way he could have forgot his name. Now, I will say that is 100% true. If Angel was, say, retired, which they might have said that, but I don't think they did. But if he's still, homicide lieutenant, it's been 10 years. It might have been a while since he heard of or even thought of that name. It's all, I don't know how he is with his alcoholism in the last 10 years. It, again, not out of the realm of possibility that it slipped his mind for a moment. I do agree they went a little too Hollywood with it, with the presentation, to try to build tension, is he going to say it? Don't say it. But I think they could have gone a different route. He could have mentioned this brilliant blood spatter expert that we had, whose name was Dexter Morgan. Maybe if he had a newspaper clipping or a picture of the crew that worked on the Trinity case, or a picture of Deb with her brother, and then that's what triggers Angela's mind. But instead it was something more vague, he had a son named Harrison. But either way, it was wonderful to see Angel again. He was still the same old Angel. Now, I always hoped that if there was more Dexter, and if it was going to be about the pursuit and downfall of Dexter, that Angel was going to be involved. I don't think they're going to go that route. I think this did kind of have a very Cameo feel. It didn't feel like... I don't think he's going to pop up again. And they did kind of give off this aura of, I kind of know something, but I don't want to say it with him. But I don't think it's really going to go anywhere. Even if this was his only appearance, which I'm pretty sure it is, it was wonderful to see him again. I was not expecting it, and I was totally happy. And so then Angela goes home, talks to Audrey. She was filled in about Harrison and the party and how Audrey wasn't doing any drugs and saved Harrison. But Audrey tells her, Harrison said something really weird, that his dad's name isn't really Jim Lindsay. And so then it ends with her at the computer, and you're like, is she going to find it? How far is she going to look into it? And then we see her printer, and it prints off an obituary for Dexter Morgan with his picture on it. And so next week is, I think it's going to be the beginning of the end. You know, I do think it's going to be a downfall story in some way, whether it be death or capture. And I think this is the beginning of it. You know, we see her questioning him about it. I don't think Harrison did it out of malice or, you know, manipulation or to get back at him. I think he was just upset and really messed up. But, yeah. I think now the stakes are the highest they've been in this entire run. And I can't wait to see where it goes. I'm curious as to see if anything has gone on further with the name Dexter Morgan and Bay Harbor Butcher and just anything, like any loose ends in Miami. And, you know, if it comes out who he was as Dexter Morgan, even working in homicide, and that his department went through so many high-profile cases. But, yeah, this is the most excited I've been. Oh, also, Kurt offers Harrison a job at the same diner that he offered to the last girl. I don't think Harrison's going to be a victim of him, but it does seem like Kurt is kind of trying to be like this fatherly figure to him. Because Harrison was about to leave. He was going to leave Iron Lake for good, but Kurt picked him up. But yes, this is the most excited I've been for the next episode since the first one. And I can't wait to see and review episode 6. I think the slower first half is really going to start paying off with this first episode of the second half. I think the slow burn is really going to... We're going to see where that slower pacing went when we get to this half. And I'm super stoked. But anyway, stay tuned next week for episode 6. And thank you for watching.